Well, welcome to another Motivational Monday right here on See, Hear, Love, where you are seen, heard, and deeply loved by God and by us. Wonderful women.
Also true.
Also true. Today's going to be a great show because we're going to be challenged and inspired to bring hope to a broken world. And who better to talk about this and inspire us than my lovely co-hosts, Cheryl and Joanna. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you.
It's good to be back.
Yes, it is. And our lovely special guest right here, Angie Draskovic. I said that correctly?
Yes.
Yes, I did. She is the CEO of Yonge Street Mission, where their mandate is to change lives, build communities, and transform Toronto, which, wow. She's also an advocate for poverty reduction in Toronto. She's a wonderful mom. And she also loves to...
all kinds of things. I don't know if I should reveal them all.
Oh, that girl. That's our kind of girl. There we go.
Like
And she
you
loves
paint,
to...
for example.
I paint.
Oh, she loves to paint.
Yeah.
I like to paint.
Okay.
Yes, I like
I've
to go see shows.
I've seen them on Instagram.
That's true.
really?
Yes. Yeah.
Facebook or somewhere.
That you paint.
I've been taking painting classes with my daughter, and we've been painting. Yeah.
What a great outlet
I
painting
love
is.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we should have brought you and you could have, teach us how to
Oh
paint.
no.
Who's that guy with the beard who does the painting show?
Oh,
I don't know.
On YouTube and does the instructions.
He used to be on television, but now he's maybe on YouTube.
And
Anyways, it's
was
just
he
this
great?
very soothing. And now we're going to add the cloud.
Yes.
It's relaxing, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Is that one of the things you find? It's very relaxing.
It is. It makes you stop and slow down and just see.
Right.
Oh,
I love
right.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, now I want to go paint
You're
after
looking
the show.
differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That is nice. That's perfect because I think we need more of that, and especially the work that you do where, you are faced with some really tough statistics and numbers and situations, especially in Toronto, one of the largest cities, full of a lot of brokenness. And so the show is about hope in a broken world. And if we look today, Angie, we're looking at so many things that we're faced with in the news. North Korea, which has been a big conversation about, the conflicts there and the stress, homelessness, First Nations issues, drug issues, Charlottesville, all of these things. And people have come to me and said, Melinda, even though I am a follower of Jesus, and some that aren't, I'm feeling hopeless. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't even know how to be positive in this atmosphere, in this environment. It's a big question, I know, but how do you even start, especially the work that you do, to have a hopeful mindset in this time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, as followers of Jesus, our hope has to be in the fact that God can transform the human heart. Because all of these troubles that we're experiencing are because of brokenness in the human heart.
Absolutely.
And so ultimately nothing will change without the power of Christ in people's lives and the transformation of our hearts. But I think in Toronto in particular, we can have great hope. And the reason, I think there's two reasons. One is we actually have a lot of resources in this city. So if you were to look at, although 1 in 5 of people in Toronto live in poverty, which is about 500, about 500,000 people live in poverty. Though that sounds daunting, when you look at the amount of resources that we have in the city of Toronto, the fact that every other month a report comes out that says we're the first, second, or third best city in the world to live on by various measures, you can't look at all of that information and say we don't have the resources to tackle this challenge. You could say we don't want to. You could say it's bureaucratic. You could say a lot of things, and that might be true. But you can't say we don't have enough resources. So I think the reason I have hope is, but one, in the power of God to transform hearts, because that's where the victory is going to come from. But two, in the fact that we actually have enough resources here. If we set our minds to it, if we develop an actual plan and run at it prayerfully, it could be done.
That's hopeful. I think it's hopeful too, and convicting in that if we have enough resource, then the people with lots of resource, we should be giving to those that are in need. And there's a responsibility, on me to care and help. And I think that's something that we'll discuss throughout the show, because there is a responsibility for caring for one another. I have a lot, but why am I not giving back in what God has given a lot to me? So
Sundar Krishnan, who's a Toronto area pastor, he's just recently retired, but he was preaching at my church recently, and he was speaking about prayer and our prayer life and why our prayer life isn't as much as it could be. And he says a lot of people say they're not disciplined enough. They're not disciplined enough. He says he says it's not really an issue of discipline. He says it's an issue of desire. Because you do the things you actually want to do.
Yes.
And so, discipline is a factor, but it's certainly not the thing that we should be honest about when we blame. And so it's a desire issue. And I love that you said that we have the resources to fix a lot of these issues. Do we desire to fix these issues? And so the change has to come. Is it coming maybe it's one conversation at a time, or you're in the change people's hearts business?
It's. I think we're in the shape the path business.
Okay.
Because I
like
actually
that.
think people in their core would want to do something about this if they knew how. So I think organizations like Yonge Street Mission need to show people how and invite them into it and make it easy. Right? Here's an easy way for you to come be a part of this movement and actually make a difference, so they can see themselves in it, because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right? So people are sitting there and they want to make a difference.
Yeah.
Often when I'm out speaking or preaching, I talk about the Good Samaritan, and I say at the end of the day, we all walk by.
Right.
We all walk by. Why? It's not to guilt people, right? That's not the end of this message. We all walk by because we're afraid and we don't know what to do.
Yeah, because
Right?
I don't know what to do. Can I really help him? Do I have the skills to do it?
Exactly.
He's icky. I don't know if I want to touch him. I might get sick. I'm just telling you. I process
absolutely.
this through my head about if I would have walked by or stopped to help. And I have, to be honest, there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't have. Because I'm just like my own safety. I'm not educated in how to deal with this. I don't have the skill. Like, there's a whole bunch of things.
Completely.
Right? I get that.
And can you talk a little bit, help us and help our viewers understand, how does someone, I'm going to go to the extreme, how does someone end up on the streets? Because I think when people, it's not, in my opinion, it's not just a lack of desire. Actually, some people have such a misunderstanding of poverty. They think the person's lazy. Why don't they just get a job? What's the matter with this person?
Right.
Why are they begging for money? Like, go home or go get a job, or isn't there a shelter you can hang out at? But there's a lack of understanding of how they got into this circumstance in the first place. Or they're all addicted to drugs and alcohol,
And we blanket statements.
And can you help? And I've had these conversations with people, and they're shocked when they understand more of the context of how someone ends up in great poverty.
Yeah. It comes back to the human heart.
Yeah.
Right? So if you talk about the Good Samaritan, we have some sympathy for that person because he was beaten and robbed.
Yeah.
Right? So he's in that situation because not due to his own decision. It's just as true when you look at a homeless person.
Right.
They may not have been physically beaten or robbed, but one of the young women that's now actually working at the mission showed up at Evergreen, our program for street-involved youth, baby in arms, having fled her home, middle of the night, in the winter, snowing, because it was safer for her to leave her house.
Right. Right.
Right? It was safer for her to leave her house. And now there's not always violence. Sometimes there's other kids are kicked out because they express a different lifestyle and their parents don't support them. People lose their families and are just so broken by that they can't handle it, so they start self-medicating. Addiction is the symptom.
Yeah.
It's not the cause.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm sitting here just overwhelmed. Usually a large factor is trauma that happens. That's what happened to me. That causes us to be on the street. I was on and off the street for 3 years. And so people like you were my heroes. When I wanted to ask you this question because I feel like people that dedicate their lives to loving the marginalized have a big story, how they got there. How did you make this your life's work? What is the why behind what you do?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, most people in the sector do have a story, and mine is fun because actually, when my family, so I was raised by my mom. She had 3 children. I'm in the middle. I have an older brother and a younger sister. And when we first moved to Toronto from Halifax, we actually lived in this little crappy, broken down rental house, very close to where I now serve at the mission.
Oh, wow.
And so there's this whole full circle thing. But I went into telecom in my first career sort of by accident, just because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and had a very clear sense of knowing this wasn't it. Went back to work after my youngest was born. And at that point in my journey, I came across, I was praying through, I had a dissatisfaction or a dissonance. Not that, where I worked was great. They were really good to me. It was a good place. It wasn't about them. I just knew that God was doing something in me and I didn't know what I was meant to do. So I came across, though, at that point, you know how you read a verse and you actually hear it for the first time?
Yeah.
I read Ephesians 2:10, and it says that God created good works in advance for us to do. And since I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said, okay, well, if you created good works in advance for me to do, would you just lead me into them?
That's a great prayer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good prayer.
And that began the long journey to here.
Wow.
And my family is a family that it's one of our focus populations. We call it, we call this program now our Bridges program, but it works with families who have multiple generations living in poverty or on social assistance, and that's my family. So if I was on social assistance, I would be right in line with my family up to this point.
So you came from that
From
world.
that.
Yeah.
So you can really connect on so many levels. Do you find that comes through all the time in the way you approach this line of work?
I hope so. I think one of the big changes we've made at the mission in the last 4 years was for this particular population, which is the bulk of people living in chronic poverty. It's also the least sympathetic population, right? Because it's the population we judge, because they're Canadians.
Yeah.
And we say,
Just
you're
get your life
lazy,
together.
get your act, you're gaming the system, you're trying to, all of those things that we believe about this population. This is the population we have given up on entirely. We don't even
interesting.
program as if we believe they can move forward.
There's a lack of desire
Yes.
to make change for this group.
Because we,
What you said
why
is
is
so
that? I mean-
huge. You need to just say that again because it's weighty. That we don't even program in a way. Just finish that.
we don't even program in a way that we believe they can move forward.
Why is that? That's astounding. That's actually heartbreaking.
Well, I think it's, so the two reframings we've done. One, and actually there's a big exciting YSM rebrand coming out in a month, so I'm excited for you to see that.
I'm really pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
As a comms person, I can't wait.
It's going to be big. It's going to be big.
It's great.
But part of that rebrand is this. One of my, frustrations with moving from international development to the local sector work was, we call it the social services sector, as if the delivery of services is our goal. So if last year we served this many meals, then this year's better because we serve more meals. I don't think so, actually, right?
Right. You want to put yourself out of business.
We want to put ourselves, internationally we call it development. Development is our goal.
That's
So
interesting.
actually part of how we're going to be describing ourselves is a Christian local development agency because we're about development. So that's the first reframe. The other is in context of this population. If we, for a second, just reframe the way we think about this population and thought about them like a new Sri Lankan family, that's cross-cultural. So we put our cross-cultural lens on and we help them adapt. If we recognize this as a culture and a cross-cultural development lens and didn't judge people and didn't say, they should know these hygiene things. They should know how to express their anger. They should know how to shake a hand. They should know. We should them to death, right? They should know this. Well, why should they? It's not part of their culture. Nobody taught them.
And we have let's be honest.
Yeah,
We have a
it's
lot
so
of
good.
we're approaching it with a lot of racial bias, a lot of cultural bias. There's a lot of prejudices involved in how we view these immigrants,
Exactly.
or those that are struggling.
Yeah.
So we need to. I love that reframing.
Yeah.
So we reframed, and so now our Bridges program is totally built around a customized approach with a cross-cultural lens to help people move out of multi-generational poverty.
Right.
And it's we launched it last September.
Move out of a culture into a new culture.
Yeah, and
Wow.
incredible results,
Wow.
unbelievable results.
Oh,
So good.
Yeah.
Angie, I love that you're at the forefront of it. I mean, let alone, being the CEO, but just there's this passion in you, to see that. And it's like you're re-educating. When you go and speak, it's like you're re-educating people to see that way. And I don't, I sometimes I'm like, how did I learn the other way? Like, who was teaching me, or where did I get that mindset? Because we've all come up from that, and then I'm so glad there are people like you that are helping to change it, because it's harmful, and it's not supporting, it's not open, it's really frustrating. One of the things you say a lot, and what I love about you is that your thought of poverty, is this theology of transforming hearts and minds through Jesus and relationship with Him and community. And I know that you've brought a verse that's really helped, understanding the reframing and seeing people as God would see them. And I know, Cheryl, you have it.
Yes, I do.
And we're just going to read it because I want to talk through that to help us understand the work you do and understand how we are to be that hope in this broken world, right? So, Cheryl, do you want to read it from?
Yeah, got it here on my Life app. It's Romans 8, verses 38 and 39. And it says, "And I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from God's love, neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today nor our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell can separate us from the love of God. No power in the sky above or in the earth below, indeed nothing in all of creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is revealed in Christ Jesus our Lord."
Oh, it's a good one. Whoa, I know.
It's a big verse.
It is a big verse. Your thoughts, for you, and I know Joanna's got lots of thoughts. We've got a lot of thoughts about that. Why that verse to help us be hopeful? Why that verse in the work that you do?
Because anybody I've ever seen move forward in their lives has moved forward in their lives because they felt grounded in love, because somebody believed in them. And ultimately, the love not everybody shares our value system and our belief, and that's fine. They have different perspectives, but the love that we're ultimately grounded in is the love of Christ. And that can be taken. And when you have that, and when you know that can't be taken away from you, then you can withstand anything. You can withstand anything. And even if somebody that we work with doesn't know Jesus, and most of the people we work with don't know Jesus, if we demonstrate God's love for them, if we can be that, and if we can believe in them when maybe nobody else in their life ever has, that's the basis on which they're able to move forward in their lives.
You know what I got from this when I was reading this last night in the context of all that Yonge Street Mission does, which is incredible work. It hit me like a ton of bricks. This is not for you, Cheryl. This is not for Joanna or for Melinda. This applies to them. I love them also. This is not contingent on their acknowledging of me, their worshiping of me, or their loving me, or even just an awareness. It's my love for them. Nothing will separate them from my love. So God's love is equally as present and encompassing for the Sri Lankan, for the Muslim. God loves them.
Right.
You know, we tend to grab this verse and be selfish with it and say it's only applying to Christians. That God's love can only be that huge.
Yeah.
Right?
My personal devotional theme this year has been around presence, and I've been reading a number of readings around presence, and how does our presence impact the people around us, and how can our presence embody Christ's love in us. And I was reading Richard Rohr's book on the divine dance and the context of the Trinity. And one of the things that has really stuck with me out of all of that this year is the fact that God never turns his face away from us.
Wow.
Right?
Wow, yeah.
Even if we don't know him, even if we are misbehaving, even if we're misbehaving and we know we're misbehaving for a season, he does not turn his face away from us. We might be turning our face away from him.
Right, yeah.
But he loves us.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it says earlier in Romans 8, Romans 8 is, it's so good. The whole thing.
Yeah.
But as you were saying earlier, just as an encouragement to us, to everybody watching, if there's anything that you're looking to see for the first time with new eyes, as you were referring to a previous scripture in Ephesians, this is one we just got to see clearly. But it starts at there's no condemnation for those who belong to Christ Jesus. And then it says, and so because we belong to him, like, and then all the way down to the bottom where it talks about his love for us. We belong to him. There's this security that comes from our position. We didn't deserve it. We didn't earn it, but he chose to love us.
Yeah.
He chose to adopt us into his family, you know, and a sense of, I would imagine, a sense of belonging, a sense of that like security that comes, that love that comes from a sense of belonging in a family, whether that's a physical family or the family of God, or a sense of family that can be developed through Yonge Street Mission.
Whether we're rich or poor on the street or not.
Yeah, it gives us this foundation that we can come at. Like, because we belong, because we are loved, I can go out today and do the next step.
And doesn't that completely reframes everything as we see people, because it's never then about, you know, us and them. It's like, if we belong, then we're all family. So we're all responsible for the well-being and the care of our brother and sister, of our family. And I think that's been a big thing because, you know, again, whatever that is, as we've been brought up, there has been these creations of like silos that you're there, I'm here, this is my role, this is your role, and then I'm going to make judgments and assumptions about you. And it's okay, because I can do that because I'm here. And I just say that, you know, and honestly, because I've grown, you know, up with that in ways, I mean, not from my family, but from, you know, sort of society and influences. And, you know, I have to, Angie, honestly, like, repent of that. Like, I've had those thoughts and actions that have put me in that place where I could help and I chose not to. That I didn't want even the desire to. Right. Because it's messy and hard.
Yeah.
And yet, so I'm so thankful for, you know, the work that you do.
Well, thank
How do you keep going on that? It must be hard. Is it hard?
It's not.
Really?
No. I feel very blessed to be doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
It doesn't overwhelm you to say, look at all the need, and
Well, you know, it can. It's funny. We had our all-staff meeting this week, and I was talking, you know, saying a few words at the all-staff meeting. One of the things I said is, you know, in Hebrews 12, it talks about running the race with perseverance, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the perfecter of our faith. We're running a race, and I used to be a runner. So the analogy I was talking about is you have to find your race pace.
Yeah.
When I was training, you had to find your race pace. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Right, so we can't help everybody. Yonge Street Mission is not going to provide direct service to all 500,000 people living in poverty. But what we are focusing on doing is building models that can be replicated.
Wow, yeah.
And creating ways, you know, God maybe didn't intend to have church and parachurch, but think about how powerful that is. So if you're on the streetcar and somebody is mentally ill and and perhaps they've self-medicated and they're saying things that are disturbing and they're erratic in their behavior, and you're sitting there and you don't know what to do, even if you have compassion, you don't know what to do, you're a little afraid, right? Because they're erratic. The truth is, parachurch organizations know how to help that person. And they can get them to a certain point where they can plug into community, but we can't be their community.
Yeah.
Right? The rest of us can be their community. So if we combine our gifts, you know, together we can actually help somebody heal and move forward in their lives.
Right.
So I got a question for you. So what just you and I talking for 30 seconds, what should I know about Yonge Street Mission that maybe, you know, is not sort of what's been publicly, I'm sure there's layers and things that the average eye just wouldn't pick up. Like, what are the awesome things about Yonge Street Mission?
Well, I think that one of the things that we're hoping will come out in this recommunication strategy about who we are is the thing we always say about Yonge Street Mission is it's well known but little understood.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
It's well regarded, but people don't really know the fullness of what we do.
Right.
And so I think, you know, that if I can say it as succinctly as possible, I think the main thing now that we're trying to help people understand is that we have a clear, we're saying we want to work towards the end of chronic poverty in a generation, and that sounds like the sort of thing a CEO is supposed to say. It sounds inspiring, right? But we're not just saying that, we're not just throwing that out there. We actually have a 3-layer theory of change and a clear plan, and we're working in partnership with the city and other agencies and leaders across the full spectrum in this plan that could actually lead to that outcome.
Wow.
By first changing lives, but having a very intentional pathway of how we do that. Blocking and tackling at the community level and building community led initiatives that address issues that are sustainable because it's not incumbent on us to carry it out. Community members are actually doing it.
That's great.
And then the last thing is Transforming Toronto, where we're actually looking at identifying key policy levers that if we change this one thing, then not just the single moms we work with benefit, but every single mom in the city benefits.
Right.
Nice. That's so good.
Oh, that is so
Thank you
good.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
And do you have a sense? I mean, stats are not it's a rule of thumb. It's not the law, but a sense of what age you're trying to reach people at before it's almost statistically impossible for them to change from chronic poverty the direction of their life. Like, are you trying? Is it literally you're trying to reach children? It's trying to reach a teenager? Is it if you can help them before the age of 25, their direction is going to change? It's much more, I don't know what the magic number is.
Yeah. Well, we have 3 focused populations. One is street-involved youth, so that's a youth population.
Okay. And what is up to what age?
16 to 25.
25.
Okay.
And that's very much a preventative initiative.
Okay.
Right? If we can help those youth get off the street, within 3 years, they'll move on and they'll never look back.
Wow.
We know
Wow.
that.
Okay.
So,
Really?
so
If
that's,
they're younger.
If they're younger. So that's our focus with that. The other population is families in need, and very specifically that would be new Canadians and single moms. Ages don't really matter so much there. We're working on the families and the family unit, and it's often families like in Regent Park, high density population. 58% of the youth that are living under the poverty line live in Regent Park.
Yeah.
Right? So that's very much try to get in and prevent crisis or support in crisis to help people move out. So it's not really related to age because we work with the entire family unit.
Yeah.
The chronically poor adult, this is the group we've given up on. We're actually intentionally going after people who their age is above what most people think change is possible.
Wow.
But I actually think change is possible, and we're seeing it in big ways and exciting ways.
Yeah.
Angie, we are so grateful for you and thankful, not only our partnership and how you've sponsored our show and how we can bring stories and you sort of re-educating us on, poverty. We're so thankful for the good work you do. And especially to see a woman like yourself, so humble and passionate to see the reduction of poverty, in Toronto. Your mandate is to, create communities and care for people. I mean, it is so amazing, the work that you do and your team.
Yeah.
We are so grateful for this relationship and friendship, really.
Yeah.
And so thankful. And the verse, too, that was so encouraging, that nothing can separate us. Though we think sometimes, though sometimes I'm like, but it's good for us to be reminded that, though we judge somebody, God's looking at them the same way He looks at me and loves him and me in the same way.
Same way.
Well, we're so grateful for this relationship, too. I love what you guys are doing. And at the mission, we are really just in a very invitational posture. Anybody who wants to join us in this idea of a game-changing approach to ending chronic poverty, we're going to make it easy for you to join.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, you've increased our desire.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's good. Yeah, you really
you.
have. And thanks for re-educating us. To you viewers, we hope that you were encouraged and inspired by what Angie's saying, and especially with Joanna about this desire. And if it's something you're struggling with, then we're encouraging you to pray and seek it out. Go onto our website and actually click on the button for Yonge Street Mission and get to know more about their work and how you can help and what you can do. We are a conversation to encourage and inspire you for change, for making a difference in the world. Just like it convicts us, we want it to convict you. So we can be a powerful force of love and change, as Jesus has commanded and compelled us to do. So thank you for sticking with us. Thank you all for a great conversation.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks for joining us again. Don't forget to visit us online, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and read our blogs and vlogs as well. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.